Riyadh, and it's nice to be alive on this Thursday morning. And I dare say, it's the dawn of a new era. At least we have a new Minister of Defense designates. Hope that he will be able to wield the magic wand since the expectations are so high out there. Now, hello everyone, and thanks for joining us on FCT Brief. As Nigeria continues to navigate complex security challenges from terrorism and banditry to emerging threats driven by economic hardship and political tensions, the expectations on the nation's defense architecture have never been higher. With the new Minister of Defense designate set to assume office, the conversation now shifts to the crucial tasks that lie ahead in strengthening national security and restoring public confidence in the system meant to protect lives and property. And this morning on FCT Brief, we will be reviewing the realities on ground, the strategic gaps that need urgent attention, and the opportunities the incoming defense leadership has to reposition Nigeria's security framework. From operational coordination among the armed forces to adopting modern defense technologies and improving civil-military relations, the responsibilities before the minister-designate are both enormous and pivotal to the country's future stability. To help provide a grounded perspective on the way forward, we are joined by Dr. Sani Shinkafi. He is the Executive Director of Patriots for the Advancement of Peace, Social Development in Nigeria. He will be sharing expert insights on the expectations, priorities, and reforms necessary for the incoming defense leadership to effectively confront Nigeria's security challenges. It's nice to have you join us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Let's start with what happened yesterday. The National Economic Council, NEC, approved $100 billion for the funding and rehabilitation of training institutions. Remember that it's been said that for us to win this war, that other security agencies will need to also be able to come on board with that kind of capacity and the equipment. Now, do you see this as a good signal that a new minister has just been screened and approved for defense?
Yeah, this is a way forward for the sisters agencies to work harmoniously with the new Minister of Defense. There is need for security personnel to be well-trained, well-equipped, and well-funded, and also well-motivated. I think with the approval of $100 billion by the National Economic Council to reconstruct the training ground for security personnel, it means the Nigerians will have this government in full confidence that Mr. President Bola Tinubu is ever ready to take the bull by its horn on the fight against insecurity in Nigeria. Looking at the situation we have at hand, kidnapping for ransom, adoption of schoolgirls, blood spilling, killings of innocent lives by this heartless armed bandit, imposition of taxes and levy by these non-state actors, terrorism. So with the present security situation we have, I think now the government is ever ready to make sure that every state in Nigeria is protected. Okay,
now, a new sheriff has just been screened and approved to man the defense ministry. And the expectation is high out there, even from the legislature, even from the public. They seem to have so much confidence in General Musa's capacity to effectively man that policy office in defense. Now, what are the immediate expectations you think that he would need to put on board in the next 36 months so that Nigerians will be more reassured that he is the man for the job?
First and foremost, let me sincerely commend Mr. President and also thank Mr. President for finding the immediate path to the defense staff as qualified for the job. He's the right man for the job at the right time, at the right direction. Looking at his track record in military service, it is a clear testimony that Christopher Musa is equal to the task, and he's ever ready to handle the Ministry of Defense with a sense of professionalism. So the main and the primary responsibility of Ministry or Minister of Defense is to manage all the branches of Nigerian armed forces. That is military, that is Army, Air Force, and the Navy. And also to maintain the modern, competent, and professional military force, to make sure that the military will protect, or the armed forces will protect the territorial integrity, sovereignty, and also the air space and the maritime ways, that is the waterways and the land border. So with somebody who has a versatile experience in military, in the counter-terrorism, somebody who has held many theater operations, I think the best thing Mr. President should do, should scrap the office of the Minister of State and allow the new minister to coordinate the security architecture of the country under serious national security and defense. There should be a unified command system.
Now, you've made a very important point here, talking about scrapping the office of the Minister of State
for Defense.
For defense. Are you saying that office can inhibit his performance?
You see, if you look at critically, it is only in Nigeria you see an office of Minister of Defense is splitted. If you split the two offices, it means you are splitting the command system of the Ministry of Defense. And there would be an inefficiency, disorganization, and even internal rivalry between the junior minister and the senior minister. If you look at it from my opening remark, I said the main primary responsibility of Minister of Defense is to manage the affairs of Nigerian armed forces. That is Air Force, Navy, and also Army. So, but looking at now what is happening in Nigeria, the Minister of State is in charge of maritime domain, is in charge of Navy, and is in charge of DICON, that is Defence Industry Corporation of Nigeria, which was established far back, 1964. So also he's in charge of military pension board, which is the one catering for the welfare of veteran military retired officers. So if that's been Christopher Musa, been an immediate past chief of defense staff, all the service chiefs, chief of defense staff, chief of army staff, chief of air staff, chief of naval staff, all are under him, going by the hierarchy of the seniority in the military. Okay. So they will have a very good, harmonious official communication and also working relationship. Okay. Have somebody who is a civilian, somebody who doesn't have a military background and security experience. Right. Looking at even the CB, the profile of the Minister of State, which he presented during the ministerial screening in 2023, his highest qualification is vocational training center certificate and special in auto mechanic. So, but looking at the rich profile of the present Minister of Defense, you know, is the right man for the job.
So, but bookwork may not be the criteria for excellence. Just hold your thoughts there. We'll come back to discuss this particular issue. But let's quickly pay some bills. Sani Shinkafi has been sharing his thoughts with us on the way forward for Nigeria in winning the war against terror. Now, you left off talking about the CV of the Minister of Defense designate and that of the Minister of State. But I would like us to move away from CV. Now, while the Minister of Defense was elsewhere as the Chief of Defense Staff, we had this issue of kidnapping, we had this issue of terrorism and all that. And we also had, he also worked with even the President Chief of Defence Staff. He worked with the President Chief of Army Staff. So what exactly do you expect him to bring on board differently from what he used to do as the Chief of Defence Staff? What magic wand is the public expecting him?
You see, there is a high expectation from the new Minister of Defense, locally and internationally. And his appointment as a Minister of Defense is well celebrated across the country. If you go through the social media platform, if the General Christopher Musa will go through the social media platform, he will know that he has an enormous task ahead of him, because there's high expectation from him by Nigerians and even internationally. So looking at his rich CV and how he was so committed in the forefront against fight against this terrorism, insurgency, oil theft, armed banditry, and other criminality in Nigeria, his appointment is well-deserved appointment. And looking at his performance when he was a Chief of Defence Staff, and also he was born and brought up in Sokoto State, and he's from the Northwest, where it is the epicenter of this armed banditry and kidnapping ransom. So he was born and brought up in Sokoto State. He goes to primary school and secondary school in Sokoto State. His parents were in Sokoto since 1962, before the Civil War. So what I'm trying to say, he will know the geographical location, the topography of the epicenter of the banditry. And also at the same time, he has served in a theater command operation Hatin Kai in the northeast.
But is that
so
sufficient? Is that sufficient in fighting this war?
Yes, he has the military background. Let me tell you, yesterday he was in the history of the National Assembly, he was the only Minister of Defense who was thoroughly questioned, and he answered very eloquently and very fluently. And going by the question and answer, you know that is somebody who is very anxious, who is ready to deliver according to the expectation.
Let me quickly add something so that you continue with that line of conversation. The President of Senate also noted something during the screening process, that the United States is breathing hard on Nigeria concerning the issue of insecurity. Within the country, there's pressure. Outside the country, there's so much pressure. So no room for excuse. And the Minister of Defense designate said that it's a no-no for negotiating with all these kidnappers or terrorists.
Excellent.
But some people say that because you are not the man who is in the lion's den, that is why it's easy to say. Would you say that for the man whose children or whose parents have been kidnapped, and you are saying no negotiation, and he has not seen any action to free their own relations from the hands of these people? So do you think it should be a state policy that we should never negotiate?
You see the comment made by His Excellency, the Senate President Gosol Akpabio. There is an allegation of Christian genocide in the previous weeks or in the previous months by the government of Donald Trump. And the allegation, it means that there is security challenges in the country. So he is being watched, monitored, observed globally and locally. And also, he says he's not going to negotiate with the bandit. That is the right thing and also in the right direction. When you negotiate with the bandit, you must pay ransom. Well, when you pay ransom, you are sustaining the kidnapping business enterprise. And if you also pay ransom, you are also helping them to buy arms and ammunition and to continue perpetuating the criminality. So the best thing to handle these two things are two approaches, kinetic and non-kinetic approach. The non-kinetic approach, there should be a total disarmament, de-radicalization, rehabilitation, and reintegration of this criminal into the society. any negotiation with bandit, without the bandit surrendering their arms or without bandit being disarmed, it is deception. And it will not see the light of the day. So the best way to handle this thing, and also there are psychological operations. Then when you are to go into non-kinetic approach, it will involve a consultation, lobbying, negotiation, but
negotiation with
paying, no, with bandit, but without paying ransom.
Okay, so not paying ransom.
Without paying ransom. Because when you pay ransom, you are empowering them to continue perpetrating the crime as a criminal enterprise. So I throw my weight behind the new Minister of Defense that he will never ever negotiate with bandit or a terrorist.
Okay, so we have hundreds of people presently.
There should be a total military force against the armed bandit and other criminal element.
Now, when you say total military force, I think a lot of people will subscribe to that. But how do you go with a total military force when you have a lot of our children, our people in captive, and most of these guys use them as human shield? Does that not question our capacity for intelligence and surveillance? So how do you expect that the new minister can bring in this on board? Now, no payment of ransom, go total force, but we have our people in captivity. Is there a role intelligence can play in helping to free these people that are in captivity?
Yeah, you see, there's many ways to fight this war, as I have said. Kinetic and non-kinetic approach. When you are going to apply non-kinetic mechanism, I have said it involves psychological operations, and also it involves for you to address a proper root cause of this banditry or criminality. The root cause of it is you have to address unemployment, poverty, drug abuse, out of school children, weak judicial system, bad governance, weak infrastructure, and you have to see how you can manage our porous border, so that, and also how to manage the border to stop proliferation of small and light arms into the land border. So you have to apply a lot of methodology, and for you also to negotiate or to lobby when the people are being adopted and they are in captivity. You have to, in order to avoid collateral damage, then you have to go into negotiation. But in negotiation is not exchange for money.
Not exchange for money.
Not exchange for money.
Just a few days ago, the president declared a national security emergency, and that entails that, look, it is no longer business as usual. There are extra measures the Nigerian states can take. Now, do you think that the states has been that decisive on the sponsors of terrorism, of these acts, their logistics, and especially some other individuals that make statements in public and you know them? For instance, there are statements made by a sheikh who is asking that, and the statement he makes is like, be soft on these people because they are part of us. And people say they've not seen the kind of action from the Nigerian state to call such an individual to question. I had an interview with a former defense chief, and he said he expects that he should. So if the bill have seen the day, the light of the day, and it is being accepted or signed into law, then I think it is also a way forward in the fight against this insecurity. Mr. President must be commended for having taken a bold step to declare state of emergency on security in Nigeria. Even with even giving an order to recruit 50,000 security personnel in the army and also in the police. I think it's a welcome development, and he needs to be commended for taking that decision. And also, there is need for us to also try to diversify from conventional fight to a technological advancement using GPSR, that is geographical positioning system, in mapping out or try to track down
the movement of this body.
That's a valid point you just made. Is it that we don't have that capacity, or we're just being negligent? If you go to NCC, for instance, is it that we don't have, at the time the Minister of Communication talked about the SIM linkages to help us track these people? It was successful done. They told us it was successful. Now, why is it difficult to use this technology that was successful done to track these bandits? Is it that somebody is not doing what they are supposed to do? And shouldn't there be sanctions? Because if we keep doing the same thing and expect a different result, we will never get it. Now, General Musa is just one amongst the lot, and we are expecting so much from him. Yeah. And he talked about whole approach. So what can other sectors, other individuals do to complement what he's bringing on board?
Mr. General Musa, the new Minister of Defense, cannot succeed without having a synergy with other security sister agencies, with police, NIA, immigration, custom, NDLEA, civil defense, and other security agencies to see how they can join forces to fight these non-state actors. So the NACOMSAT, Galaxy Backbone, and even the NCC can help in trying to see how we can use some technological advancement in complementing the effort of the government and also at the effort of the Minister of Defense in the fight against this criminal element who are disturbing the peace of this country. If you look at the total population of Nigeria, all these criminals are not up to 0.5% of the total population. So there should be a total political will and commitment on the part of all the security agencies to fight this crime and criminality. And we know that General Musa has the passion, has the professionalism, has the patriotism to fight this crime and criminality since when he was in the military for the past 35 years in service. But he needs people on board to support him. And we need Nigerians also to pray for him because a high expectation from him.
Okay. When people say that we need to overhaul the security architecture of Nigeria, and some other people say that should we have something like a war team where you go beyond the conventional security agencies and you bring in teams like, you bring in the NDLA, you talked about drugs, the drug network that even finance these things. You bring in the NDLEA, you bring in the NCC people with their satellite technology, and you bring in every other agency.
Customs, immigration.
Have a team so that beyond the military and the police and the civil defense, bring all these people on board so that there will be players. Would that make a lot of difference in defining our security architecture because Nigeria is at war?
Yeah, when you are talking of the total overhaul of the security architecture and the defense in the country, you have to bring all the security agencies on board, either paramilitary or military or police. You have to bring everybody on board. Everybody has a role to play to make sure that the country, territorial integrity and sovereignty is also protected. When you are a Minister of Defense, your main responsibility is to protect the territorial integrity, sovereignty, the maritime, airspace, navy, and the constitution of the Republic of Nigeria. So for Mr. President to overhaul the security architecture, he has to also do check and balance in the custom. Because the porosity of the border, we have more than 4,000 kilometers in border. The size, 4,000 kilometers. Then we have also more than 4,000 illegal routes. So the legal routes are not up to 1,300 routes. So most of these borders are for us. It is easier to smuggle small and light arms into the Nigerian border. It is easier to smuggle also drugs. And also it is easier for illegal immigrants to also come through the land border and perpetuate crime.
Okay, in closing, let's quickly look at, if we have to reconvene 6 months from now, what specific benchmark will you use to judge the performance of General Musa that is being celebrated today?
I'm very optimistic. If Mr. President will scrap the office of Minister of State for Defense, I think it will give the new minister, this Annette, an upper hand to operate. My reason is very clear. I'm not trying to throw stone to anybody, but what I'm trying to justify, the maritime domain is very, very important in monitoring the shipment of shipping of oil, monitoring our waterways, and it is all under supervision of the new minister. And also the issue of oil bunkering. Oil bunkering is being monitored by Navy. So if he's not overseeing the maritime, which is very, very important on national economy and also on national security, so he will have some inefficiency, lack of coordination, and also some interagency rivalry, and that one will also disorganize him, and he will not meet up the target. That is the truth of the matter.
Okay, and do you think foreign partnership is key, and to what extent should we partner with our foreign nations in protecting our country?
You know, we need military hardwares, and also we have to advance from the conventional way of fighting this crime to advanced technology, using drones, attacking drones and satellite drones to monitor the movement of these criminals. We have forests, we have deep forests, but if we are able to combine the conventional fight and also with the use of technology and forest guard and hunters, I think we are good to go. So this is where we need the foreign country to assist us in selling some military hardwares. And also, Mr. President should do everything humanly possible to budget, to appropriate more funds to DICON. And you see, DICON is under Minister of State for Defense.
Your thoughts are well taken. Your thoughts are well taken. I know that the policymakers are listening, and they will do the needful at the very right time. Thank you so much, Dr. Sani Shinkafi, for sharing your thoughts with us. And we know that there is no excuse for the new minister.
Yeah, no excuse.
No excuse. So
no
he
room
must
for
keep
any
the ground
excuse.
running.
That's high expectation.
Exactly.
And I want to use this opportunity to congratulate him, also to thank Mr. President for finding him fit for that position.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being part